I discovered my perfect older brother was faking a terminal illness to manipulate our dying mother into giving him full control of the family estate, and the proof was sitting in his gym bag when he left it unattended during Sunday dinner. I never thought I'd be sharing something this personal with strangers on the internet, but here I am at 2 a.m., staring at my ceiling, completely hollowed out by what I've learned about someone I thought I knew my entire life. My brother Daniel has always been the golden child. 5 years older than me, charismatic, successful, the one who could walk into any room and have everyone eating out of the palm of his hand within minutes. Our parents worshipped him. Our extended family saw him as the one who would carry on the family name and legacy. And for most of my life, I was okay with that. I played the quiet younger sister role, the steady one, the reliable one who showed up, who handled logistics, who made sure things ran smoothly, while Daniel dazzled everyone with his charm and accomplishments. But 3 months ago, our world tilted on its axis when our mother was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's. She's only 62. It came out of nowhere, aggressive and terrifying, and suddenly our family was plunged into a nightmare we never saw coming. Our father passed away 8 years ago from a heart attack, so the responsibility of managing Mom's care, her finances, her future, fell to Daniel and me. And for the first few weeks, we worked together as a team. We researched treatment options, toured memory care facilities, met with elder law attorneys to understand how to protect her assets. It was exhausting and heartbreaking, but we were in it together. Then everything changed. About 2 months ago, Daniel sat me down with a look of profound sadness that I now recognize as carefully rehearsed. He told me he had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The words hit me like a physical blow. I remember my vision actually blurring at the edges, my hands going numb. He described the symptoms, the pain, the exhaustion. He said the prognosis was grim, maybe 6 months, maybe a year of treatment went exceptionally well. I sobbed in his arms for what felt like hours while he comforted me, telling me he would fight, that he wasn't giving up, that we would get through this together as a family. Looking back, the performance was flawless. He even had the grace to look uncomfortable when I insisted on coming to his appointments with him. He gently refused, saying he needed to process things in his own way, that he was still coming to terms with everything and needed space to be strong. I understood. I thought I understood. I thought he was protecting me from the ugly reality of watching him go through treatment. Our mother, despite her declining cognitive state, seemed to grasp that something was terribly wrong with her son. In her clearer moments, she would hold his hand and cry softly, telling him she couldn't lose him too, not after losing Dad. It was devastating to witness. And in those moments, Daniel would comfort her with such tenderness, such apparent sincerity, that I felt guilty for ever doubting anything about him. Then the financial discussions began. Daniel, with tears in his eyes, explained that he needed access to more of our mother's assets to cover his experimental treatments. The insurance, he said, was only covering a fraction of the costs. He needed hundreds of thousands of dollars for clinical trials, for specialists, for medications that might give him a fighting chance. Our mother, in one of her more lucid moments, agreed immediately. Of course, she said, anything for my boy. She signed papers without fully understanding them. She authorized transfers without asking questions. She trusted him completely, as she always had. I started feeling uneasy when Daniel began pushing for full control of the estate, not just access to funds for his treatment, but complete power of attorney, the ability to make all decisions about our mother's care and finances without my input. He argued that with his limited time, he wanted to ensure everything was handled according to her wishes. He said it would give him peace of mind to know he was taking care of her, even as he faced his own mortality. It sounded noble. It sounded selfless. But something in my gut kept screaming that it was wrong. The first concrete red flag came when I tried to contact his oncologist. I wanted to understand his treatment plan better, to know how I could support him, what to expect in the coming months. Daniel became defensive immediately. He accused me of not trusting him, of adding stress to an already impossible situation. He said his doctor valued patient privacy and wouldn't speak to me without his explicit authorization, which he wasn't willing to give because he needed to maintain some boundaries, some sense of control over his own medical journey. I backed down, feeling guilty for pushing. Then I noticed odd inconsistencies in his story. He mentioned chemotherapy sessions that seemed to last only an hour or two. He talked about side effects that didn't match the treatments he described. He was losing weight, yes, but in a way that seemed deliberate, controlled. He looked tired, but not like someone undergoing aggressive cancer treatment. He looked like someone who had stopped eating regularly and wasn't sleeping well because he was too busy managing his elaborate deception. The turning point came 3 weeks ago. We had our weekly Sunday dinner at our mother's house, a tradition we've maintained since Dad died. Daniel arrived looking particularly drained, describing a brutal chemotherapy session the day before. He talked about the nausea, the weakness, the crushing fatigue. Our mother, confused but deeply concerned, insisted on making him her special chicken soup, the one she used to make when we were sick as children. She spent an hour in the kitchen, carefully following a recipe she could barely remember, determined to comfort her dying son. After dinner, Daniel went to use the bathroom and left his gym bag on the living room floor. I don't know what possessed me to look inside. I'd like to think it was divine intervention, some higher power forcing me to see the truth before it was too late. But honestly, it was probably just exhaustion, the cumulative weight of grief and suspicion finally driving me to seek answers. I unzipped the main compartment and found what I was looking for almost immediately, a folder containing documents I wasn't meant to see. Inside were printouts of emails between Daniel and various financial institutions. He had been moving money for months, not just from our mother's accounts, but from other family members who had generously donated to his fake medical fund. There were spreadsheets tracking his debts, which were staggering. Over $400,000 in gambling losses accumulated at underground poker games and online sports betting sites I'd never heard of. There were text message conversations with bookies demanding payment, with threatening undertones that made my blood run cold. But the most damning evidence was a single sheet of paper with handwritten notes that looked like rehearsal lines for his performances. Phrases like, "The cancer has spread to my lymph nodes," and "the latest skin wasn't what we hoped," and "I need you be strong for Mom when I'm gone." He had literally been practicing his lies, memorizing dialogue to deliver with maximum emotional impact. I sat on the floor for what felt like an eternity, staring at these documents, my mind refusing to process what my eyes were seeing. Daniel returned from the bathroom and froze in the doorway. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then he smiled that charming, disarming smile that had fooled everyone for 35 years and said, "I can explain." I didn't let him. I grabbed the folder and walked straight to our mother's room. She was resting, but I woke her gently and showed her what I'd found. Her confusion made comprehension difficult, but enough got through. Enough for her to start crying. Those terrible, helpless tears of someone whose mind had betrayed them, but whose heart remains fully intact. She kept saying, my boy," over and over, and I couldn't tell if she was mourning the son she thought was dying or the son she was just discovering was a monster. Daniel followed me, his composure finally cracking. He begged, he pleaded. He offered explanations that fell apart the moment he voiced them. He claimed he was going to pay back the money, that he just needed time, that the cancer lie was a last resort because he was desperate and scared. When I asked why he hadn't just asked for help with his gambling debts, he laughed bitterly and said, "You think anyone would have given me $400,000 to cover gambling losses? You think Mom would have understood that?" The next few days were a blur of lawyers, accountants, and police reports. We discovered the full scope of his deception. The gambling hadn't just resurfaced. It had been ongoing for years, hidden behind his successful facade. He had been embezzling from his own company, a tech startup that had recently failed, leaving investors furious and employees unpaid. The cancer story was meant to buy him sympathy and time while he figured out how to access our mother's entire estate, sell it, and disappear before anyone could connect the dots. Our mother's attorney moved swiftly to revoke any authority Daniel had been given and to freeze all accounts until the situation could be sorted. The police opened an investigation into the financial fraud against family members who had donated to his fake medical fund. His wife, Rebecca, who I had always believed was as deceived as the rest of us, turned out to be complicit. She had been helping him fabricate medical documents, fake appointment reminders, even a convincing-looking letter from a non-existent oncology practice. They had been planning to take the money and start a new life somewhere far away, leaving the rest of us to mourn a man who wasn't even dying. When I confronted Rebecca, she had the audacity to look hurt. She said they were in love, that they did what they had to do, that we couldn't understand the pressure they were under. I reminded her that my mother, a woman with early-onset Alzheimer's, had been manipulated into signing away her life savings to save her son. I reminded her that cousins, aunts, family friends had emptied their own savings accounts to help Daniel fight his fake cancer. She had no response to that. The fallout has been devastating and ongoing. Our mother has had several severe episodes since learning the truth, her condition accelerating in ways her doctors didn't anticipate. They say the emotional trauma has likely worsened her cognitive decline, that the betrayal by her beloved son may have caused irreparable damage to whatever healthy brain tissue remained. Some days she doesn't recognize me. Some days she asks when Daniel is coming to visit, and I have to gently redirect her, without explaining that he's under house arrest awaiting trial. Daniel's legal situation is dire. Multiple felony charges, potential prison time, the complete destruction of his reputation and career. His wife has filed for divorce and is seeking immunity by cooperating with prosecutors. His children, my nieces, ages 8 and 10, have been told only that Daddy is sick and needs to be away for a while. They don't know that their father lied about dying to steal money. They don't know that their mother helped him. They just know that their world has fallen apart, and they're living with Rebecca's parents now, confused and scared and missing both parents. I've spent countless hours trying to understand how someone becomes capable of this. Daniel wasn't always a monster. We had happy childhood memories, family vacations, inside jokes, moments of genuine connection. Somewhere along the way, success and entitlement warped him. The gambling started small, I later learned, in college. Then it grew, along with his ability to hide it. By the time he was 30, he was deeply in debt, but still maintaining the appearance of success. The startup failure pushed him over the edge. He needed a solution, and the cancer lie was the most profitable one he could imagine. What haunts me most is the performance. The tears, the fear, the moment of apparent vulnerability where he talked about wanting to see his daughters grow up. He practiced those moments. He rehearsed them until they felt real. He manipulated our dying mother while pretending to be dying himself. There's a special circle of hell for that kind of cruelty, and I hope he finds it. My mother's remaining assets, what Daniel didn't manage to steal before we caught him, are now in protected trust managed by her attorney and me. I've moved into her house to provide full-time care, supplementing the professional help we've hired. It's exhausting work, watching someone you love fade away while also processing an inconceivable betrayal. Some nights I sit beside her bed and cry until I have nothing left. Some nights I'm too numb to feel anything at all. The family is fractured in ways that may never heal. Relatives who donated money are furious, at Daniel, at themselves, at the situation. Some blame me for not discovering the truth sooner. Others blame our mother for being too trusting. A few have whispered that maybe I fabricated the whole thing to get control of this state myself, which is so absurd it would be funny if it weren't so painful. Grief and anger make people say terrible things. Daniel's trial is scheduled for next spring. He's been denied bail due to flight risk, given the scope of the fraud and his attempts to access hidden accounts even after being discovered. I've received letters from him, apologetic, manipulative, still trying to spin the narrative. He says he loves me, that he never meant to hurt anyone, that he was trapped by circumstances and made terrible choices. He asked me to visit, to bring the girls, to help him rebuild some connection with his children. I haven't responded. I don't know if I ever will. The girls are the real victims in all of this. They've lost both parents to this nightmare. Their father is in jail. Their mother is facing potential charges and has essentially abandoned them to save herself. They're in therapy, struggling to understand why their family exploded. I visit when I can, bringing photos of happier times, telling them stories about their dad before he became this person. I don't know if I'm helping or just prolonging their confusion. I only know I can't abandon them the way everyone else has. Last week, I found an old video on my phone. It was from 3 years ago, a family barbecue at our mother's house. Daniel is grilling burgers, laughing at something our dad said before he died. Mom is setting the table, complaining that someone bought the wrong potato salad. I'm capturing it all on camera, narrating like a bad documentary filmmaker, making everyone groan. Everyone looks happy. Everyone looks normal. Everyone looks like a family that has no idea what's coming. I watched that video 7 times in a row, crying so hard I couldn't breathe, not just for what we've lost, but for the impossibility of reconciling that man with the one who sat in our mother's living room and described his fake cancer symptoms in loving detail. People talk about monsters as if they're born that way, as if you can spot them coming from a distance. But the truth is that monsters are made slowly, incrementally, through choices that seem small until they're catastrophic. And sometimes they look exactly like the people you love most in the world. My mother had a good day yesterday. She recognized me immediately, remembered my name, even asked how work was going. We sat in the garden and talked about nothing important for hours. She told me she was proud of me, that I'd always been the strong one, that she knew I'd be okay no matter what happened. I didn't tell her about Daniel's letters. I didn't remind her that he was awaiting trial. I just held her hand and let her be my mom for a few precious hours. Today she doesn't know who I am. She keeps asking when her daughter is coming to visit. I tell her soon, very soon, and she smiles and goes back to staring out the window. The cruelty of Alzheimer's is that it takes everything eventually, memories, recognition, the ability to understand loss. But maybe in some twisted way, that's also a mercy. She won't have to live with the full weight of what her son did. She won't have to attend his trial or visit him in prison. She'll forget gradually until none of this remains. I won't have that luxury. I'll remember everything. The folder in the gym bag, the handwritten rehearsal notes, the look on Daniel's face when he realized I knew, the phone calls with lawyers and police, the girls crying at their grandmother's funeral, which we had to postpone because the real Daniel was still alive and the fake one was too complicated to explain. I'll carry all of it forever, a permanent weight that nothing can lift, but I'll also carry other things. The way our mother laughed at that barbecue. The sound of Daniel's genuine, uncalculated joy before everything went wrong. The memory of a family that existed once, briefly, before lies and addiction and desperation destroyed it. Those memories are mine, and no amount of betrayal can take them away. I'm sitting in my mother's kitchen now, writing this at 3 a.m. while she sleeps peacefully upstairs. The house is quiet. The garden is dark. Somewhere in a jail cell, my brother is probably awake too, rehearsing new explanations, new justifications, new ways to make himself the victim of a story he created. But I'm done listening to his stories. I'm done being manipulated by his tears. I have a mother to care for, nieces to protect, and a life to rebuild from the wreckage he left behind. Daniel will have his day in court. The law will do what it can to hold him accountable. But the real punishment is already happening. He's alone, truly alone, for the first time in his life. His wife is gone. His children are being raised by strangers. His mother doesn't remember him enough to miss him. His sister won't answer his letters. Everything he built, every relationship he cultivated, every moment of connection he ever had, all destroyed by his own choices. That's a sentence no judge can impose. I don't know if I'll ever fully heal from this. I don't know if our family can ever be whole again. But I know that I'm still here, still standing, still showing up every day to do the hard work of living. My mother needs me. My nieces need me. And somewhere in all of this chaos, I need me too. The version of me that trusted completely, that believed in the goodness of people, that thought family would always have your back. That person is gone. But the person who replaced her is stronger, wiser, and far less naive. She's not bitter, just realistic. She's not cold, just careful. She's not broken, just remade by fire. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can hope for after the people we love reveal themselves to be strangers wearing familiar faces. We survive. We adapt. We learn to find joy in small moments, in garden conversations, in old videos, in the sound of our mother breathing peacefully in the next room. We carry on because there's no other choice, and because somewhere, somehow, there's still love worth protecting.